Let's talk about William Shakespeare's King Lear. It's often called his absolute masterpiece, this huge, towering achievement in literature. But here's the thing, it's also his most brutal play. It is so dark that for like a century and a half, people literally refused to stage it without tacking on a happy ending. So, let's get into it.
So that's the big question, right? Why would Shakespeare write a tragedy that is so unbelievably bleak, so completely lacking in hope, that it can still, to this day, leave you feeling totally gutted? Well, to figure that out, we actually have to go back and look at the story he started with.
Because here's the thing, Shakespeare didn't just pull the story of King Lear out of thin air. Nope, he inherited it. And trust me, the original version was a totally different kind of story.
By the time Shakespeare sat down to write his version, around 1605, the tale of the old British king and his daughters was already an ancient legend. Everybody knew it. His main inspiration came from a really popular history book of the time called Holinshed's Chronicles.
And when you put the two side by side, the difference is, well, it's staggering. See, in the original legend, the story is all about justice. The good daughter, Cordelia, comes back with an army. She wins the battle, and she puts her old dad back on the throne. The king gets everything back and dies peacefully years later. And Shakespeare, he takes this beloved, uplifting story and just completely flips it on its head.
So let's just pause on that for a second. This wasn't an accident. Shakespeare deliberately chose to take a story that everyone knew had a happy ending and turned it into one of the most soul-crushing tragedies ever written. And believe it or not, that was only his first move.
Oh yeah, he didn't just stop at making the ending a total nightmare. He decided to double down on the darkness with two absolutely brilliant and brutal additions.
So, step one, as we just saw, was to reverse the ending for maximum devastation. But step two, now this is a real stroke of genius. He weaves in a whole new subplot that perfectly mirrors and amplifies everything that happens to Lear. He brings in this whole other family, the Earl of Gloucester and his two sons. You've got Edgar, the good, loyal son, and then you've got Edmund, the ambitious, illegitimate son. And this second storyline, which he actually nicked from another popular book, becomes absolutely essential to the whole structure of the play.
So, on one side of the stage, you've got Lear. He's a king who is completely blind to which of his daughters actually loves him. He gives all his power to the wrong ones, gets betrayed, and it costs him his kingdom, his power, and of course, his sanity.
And then, running right alongside that, is Gloucester's story. He's another father who's totally blind to the true nature of his sons. He gets betrayed by Edmund, and it costs him his status, and then his actual eyesight in one of the most gruesome scenes in all of theater. So you have one father who loses his mind, and another who literally loses his eyes. Both of them are blind to the truth. It's an incredible parallel. So by twisting these two stories of family betrayal together, Shakespeare creates this overwhelming feeling of a world just eating itself alive with cruelty. And Edmund, Gloucester's son, he's the engine of the whole thing, just pushing everyone faster and faster towards total ruin.
All of this relentless pain and suffering, it pushes the play beyond just being a sad story. It becomes something weirder, more unsettling. It becomes, for lack of a better word, grotesque.
So what do we mean by grotesque? Well, it's a world where horrible, tragic things get bizarrely mixed up with dark, absurd comedy. It's kind of like tragedy, but with all the meaning and ability stripped away. In a grotesque world, suffering doesn't make you wiser. It's just pointless. There's no higher power making sure things work out. It's just chaos.
The literary critic Jen Cott just nailed it with this quote. He said that if a classic tragedy is like a serious ritual, the theater of priests, where there's always a moral at the end, then the grotesque is the theater of clowns, where everything is just one big, cruel, chaotic joke.
And man, King Lear is just full of these moments. You've got a king, screaming his head off in a thunderstorm like a madman. You have a blind man being tricked into thinking he's jumping off a cliff to his death when he's really just falling over on a flat piece of ground. The only person who consistently speaks the truth is the court jester. In Lear's world, it doesn't matter if you're a king or a nobleman, everyone ends up a fool.
So that's the real difference, right there. A classic tragedy usually gives you what we call catharsis, that feeling of emotional release at the end. The sense that, okay, things are bad, but order is restored. The grotesque gives you nothing. No comfort, it just forces you to stare right into the abyss of a world that might just be meaningless.
So, why? Why does this matter?
What on earth is Shakespeare trying to tell us by creating this incredibly bleak picture of a world just completely falling apart?
Because ultimately, the play isn't just about one family's messed up story. It's bigger than that. It's really about the end of a world. Everything, family, government, even the natural order of things, it all just crumbles.
And this is where Lear is so different from Shakespeare's other great tragedies. I mean, at the end of Hamlet, Fortinbras shows up to clean up the mess and restore order. In Macbeth, Malcolm takes back the throne. But at the end of Lear, there's nobody. All the important characters, good and bad, are dead. The few people left standing are just, as the play says, the ruined remnants of a broken world.
So by taking that old legend with the happy ending and twisting it into this grotesque nightmare, Shakespeare basically rips away every single comforting idea we have. There are no easy answers here. No divine justice is coming to save the day. All that's left is the raw, agonizing reality of what people do to each other in a world that doesn't seem to care.
The play gives us no comfort. It doesn't give us a neat moral to wrap things up. It just shows us humanity with all the illusions stripped away. And maybe that's why it's so powerful. It doesn't tell you what to believe. It just looks you right in the eye and forces you to ask, if there's no God and no guarantee of justice, then what's left for us?